Hello, I am the Miami Autism Dad, Victor Antunes, the inclusive My Realtor, and this is the Autism Podcast at Miami's Community Newspapers. Today, my guest is Dr. Tamara Moodie. She is the co-founder and principal at South Florida Autism Charter School, the largest all-autism charter school in South Florida or Miami-Dade County. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tamara.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
I feel blessed you're here. Now, I've got a quick intro to the show, what it's about. I want to read, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
Okay. Today's conversation about the reality that when an autistic child goes missing, the difference in life and death is often measured in minutes. Florida now has a life-saving response system specifically designed for autistic individuals who wander or go missing. It's called Spectrum Alert. It was created with one goal: to quickly locate missing individuals with autism and bring them safely home. Dr. Tamara Moodie is the person who created it. Very, very blessed that you did that. Thankful as an autism dad, because as we know, and maybe other parents don't know, is that drowning is the number one cause of accidental death amongst autistic children.
Yes, it is.
So tell me, what was the impetus for Spectrum Alert?
So, as you said earlier, I am the founder of South Florida Autism Charter School. One of the things that makes South Florida Autism Charter School great is that we offer trainings. And one of my Saturday trainings, I had police officers in. I had firefighters, police officers, 911 operator, and we do this training every year. We have a great relationship with the city of Hialeah, Aventura Police, Miramar Police, and some other folks. And they come in my cafeteria, and we do this training on a Saturday morning with parents there. And my goal behind that safety training is to teach our parents how to call for help, to teach our parents how to look for danger, and if there's a fire in the house, what they need to be able to teach their children. So a parent asks about the Amber Alert, and the police officers explained what the Amber Alert was. And this particular parent said, but then what about my child? You know, if he goes missing, the Amber Alert is not going to tell you what you need to know about my child. He's going to run. And she goes, right, Dr. Moodie, he's going to run. If you call him, he thinks calling his name is a game. He's going to run thinking that we're playing chase. And she started to cry in the middle of my training in front of all these officers and all these parents. And I said to her, Mama got you. She's a new parent to her school, and she just had a lot of things that was happening to her at the time. So she was like super emotional and want to be heard. And I wanted to reassure her that I was going to do something about that, just like I do for every one of my parents who bring a problem or a situation to light. So that night, I went home and I started to do research. And at that moment, I didn't realize how many families with children with autism have gone missing, have been like drowned, accidentally dead. And I saw the stats and I was like, we got to do something about this. And then I started to do more research. Is there something out there that will tell the police officer when our kids get missing how to find them? There was nothing, much to my surprise. And I went back to my office that Monday morning and I told my staff, and I was like, I'm going to do something about this. I took that day and I came up with different names. I did a draft, and it so happens that that afternoon I did a tour, and it was a senator, Senator Avila. He was there, and I went into the conference room after the tour, and I said, listen, you know, I have an idea. He was like, okay. And Glenn Pierce, my board chair at the time, he was like, you know, she gets a lot of ideas. You sure you want to hear this idea? And I pitched the idea to him, and he was like, wow, that's a great idea. There's nothing like that out there. And I said, no, there's a silver alert.
There's the Amber Alert.
There's the Amber Alert, but there's nothing for our kids. And I want to call it the Spectrum Alert. He loved the idea. And after he left, I had his staff called me and they were like, can you send me over the draft? I had a puzzle piece with a emergency sign inside of it. I had this whole sentence to describe what I wanted to be. I had the data to prove that this was needed. And I sent it to them, and they marked it up and they sent it back, and they marked it up and I sent it back. And this was like months that it was in drafting. Then I was told that they're going to present it. And he had another partner, another senator that was going to propose this bill. And I was getting really positive feedback. And then I got an email stating that they don't know if it's going to pass, but they'll bring it back because we needed $190,000 because they had to change the system.
You mentioned earlier. What
Yeah.
system were you talking about?
So, when you call 911, there's a system that will send out information.
Okay.
That this child is missing and this is where the child was. So I guess it's like some system that goes to the police officers, but it was older and they needed to revamp it. And they needed to add in things now that would support the Spectrum Alert. Because in my mind, when I proposed it, it was a two-part. It was a training for the officers and the first responder, but it was also to give information like this child is nonverbal. This child will run. This child, will bite. He may be aggressive. He may not give eye contact. He may not respond to his name. I wanted it to be so specific that whoever was going to get this phone call would know that this wasn't just a child that ran away. It was a child that was nonverbal, and you need to approach them differently. Our kids are like snowflakes. There's no two that's alike. So if you say Spectrum Alert and you think you're going to go out and it's going to be a verbal child that's going to be able to respond to their name, that's one part of the spectrum. But then the other part of the spectrum...
It's a small part of the spectrum,
exactly. Too. And the other part of the spectrum, the part of the spectrum that I work with, is the profound part of the spectrum. The kids who may hear their name, Johnny, where are you?
And it means nothing to them.
Means nothing to them. Yeah. Or another group who think it's a game, and I wanted it to be more specific, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a part of it that was gonna make the system needed the money to be able to give the first responder the information that's needed to properly save lives.
Now, to put things in perspective, when people ask me about Spectrum Alert, I say it's like Amber Alert, but for the police. Do you think that's a fair analogy?
I think it's not for the it's more like it's Amber
internal
Alert,
but it's for the police, not for the public.
It's going to be for the public too.
Oh, really?
You will see when you see Amber Alert will show up when you drive in.
I haven't seen that.
It's because it's not in yet.
Okay.
They have until July of next year to have it up and running. So July of next year, hopefully it will never have to be used. But if it has to be used, where you would see Amber Alert, you will now see Spectrum Alert. And folks will know, it's a child with autism that's missing.
That's great.
It's a person with autism that's missing.
Now, prior to finding out about Spectrum Alert, we had met already. Mm-hmm. And it was June 26th of this year, a little boy named Anthony Brown went missing in Opelika. And I get Google alerts, and I got this alert, and I thought to myself, if this boy's not found by nightfall, it's going to end poorly. The next day, he was found drowned in a canal. Now, when I got that alert, I thought to myself, if I was a 911, because I'm an autism dad, so I know that drowning is a problem.
Yes.
I thought, if I was the 911 dispatcher, I would say, okay, every police unit within 2 miles of this house, go to the nearest body of water.
Exactly.
And it's so obvious to you and I.
Yeah.
But to the police, if you don't have an autistic kid, you don't know that.
And for me, every community has like a body of water around them, right?
It's South Florida.
Our kids see the water and it's like they want to touch the water and then they panic, right? And for me, it's so important that our kids not only know how to swim. Part of why, we're doing the things that we're doing with SFACS, with our South Florida Autism Center, we want to teach our kids how to swim. So we're building a pool that will be up and running August of next year. And for me, parents need to be able to give that information too. But when you're in a panic, your child is missing, there's certain things you're not thinking about. So for me, the Spectrum Alert is going to answer those questions already for the first responder. And just so you know, just this Monday, another child, a 5-year-old nonverbal, drowned, went missing and drowned in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And for me, this needs to stop.
Yeah. And by the way, Anthony Brown, he was found within 1 mile of his home.
Yeah.
So if you put a 2-mile radius, that's actually a lot.
Yeah.
Go to the nearest body of water. Because if you say, well, the whole county, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But go to the nearest body of water than 2 miles of the home or wherever they were last seen. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that the police will have information about the child. Do you have to register before?
So that part of it is where everybody's working on trying to figure out how it's going to be rolled out. So while I came up with the information, I'm not a big part of the training part of it. I'm hoping that I'll be pulled in because I have so much more information that I would love to be able to share. But it's right now in the States, and they're the ones that's really working on it. But I am still lending my voice and still saying that and still making sure that things like that is being a part of it. My idea, when I came up with the idea, is for you to have to register your child, especially if you have an eloper, because you also know that a high percentage of kids with autism elope. If I'm not,
It's all of them, okay?
at some point,
it's
right?
all of them.
Yeah. But you have some that does it more often
Yes,
than
of course,
some.
right.
And I believe that every child, every family who has just like how they have to, they should register with the card center. I believe this should be like another process. And hopefully we can get like the card center involved and they will have a registry. I think that right now it's so new that folks don't know what's the best thing. And I think once it's out, you're going to see us adding more because the Amber Alert wasn't the perfect alert at first, right? There's
evolved.
different things.
It
It's
evolved.
evolved. And I think that's what's going to happen to the Spectrum Alert. And my goal, I hope that it will be in other states too. That's a big thing. I think it's so needed. I think it's a work in progress. And I know they took my idea and they loved it and they approved it. And I'm so very happy that was done, but there's so much more work to be done.
Yes. And I've had the conversation about privacy with other leaders like yourself. My thoughts is that, you got to weigh the pros and cons. More information, your kid's going to be safer. Less information, there's more danger. So you got to weigh that.
And I do my safety training. That's something we talk about. I tell our parents, I said, I can't tell you what to do, and I don't have a child with autism, but if I did, my neighbors would know that I have a child with autism. My neighbors they would have paperwork on what autism looked like and what my child is like. I would befriend my neighbors, because it takes a village. It truly takes a village because it's, I say this to my parents all the time. It's not a race. It's a marathon. And you can't do it by yourself. It's a relay. You need people to be able to give that baton to, right? And if you have to do it by yourself, you're going to be tired. But you want your neighbor to know if they see your child outside by himself, that's not because you let him outside by himself. Pick up that phone and call me.
Yeah, and a question about the Spectrum Alert. I had on Alex Argote. He's the president of the Down Syndrome Association of Miami. And eloping is also, it's just a bigger problem with their kids as with ours.
Yes.
Would the Spectrum Alert also work for those kids?
I think so.
How would that work then?
I named it Spectrum Alert because that's a population that I work with, and that was a population I was thinking about. But I think if it's rolled out the way I envision it, information will be in there about that child. So it may say a child with autism, but then I don't see why it couldn't say a child with Down syndrome.
Of course.
I mean, in a perfect world, I probably should have been thinking about disability as a whole. But at that moment, I was thinking about what I could do to help my 300 plus families, who have children in our school that has autism. My goal was at first, maybe I reach out to the superintendent of Miami-Dade, or maybe this would have been something that I did in Hialeah because that's where the main campus was. But then when I went to the senator and he thought it was a great idea, that was the best thing is for us to get it statewide. And now maybe other alert, or maybe the name is changed a little bit, or maybe the criteria,
the
protocols will
it'll
be
evolve.
different. It
I'm
will
sure
evolve, and it needs to. And I'm happy that I was able to be, the voice that started this conversation.
Now, in our imperfect world, there are going to be kids who are not registered.
Yes.
So maybe the protocols. Let's say I call 911. My autistic daughter went missing. No, she's not registered. What would they then do?
I have no clue.
Really?
But that is a conversation that I'm happy we're talking about because that's a conversation that I've I want to still be a part of. And I've been letting folks know that I'm here. I still want to be a part of this. There's a right and a wrong way to do things. And after this conversation, I think I'm gonna pick up the phone and I'm gonna be like, Senator Avila, like, listen, I really want this to be done properly. So let me be a part of that table that they're doing this, because that needs to be said. Again, there's no two kids with autism that's alike. So what works for one child is not going to work for the other. So it has to be done properly.
Now, you're in Hialeah, so I'm just assuming that they are like really like progressive, because you're there. You're probably there like knocking on the door.
Listen, Hialeah has been the best home for us. I am so grateful to the then mayor, you know, who he saw what we were doing, and to our superintendent too, because he created this great, our then superintendent Cavallo, because he created such a great relationship between us and Hialeah as well. And I went to Hialeah high schools, right? So they've been great supporters, and their police officers have never been shy about how much they care about SFACs and how much they want to be supportive to SFACs. And they're always the first group of folks to say yes whenever I come up with, I want you to block the road because I want to do an autism walk, you know, or I need you to come with the 911 operator and let's teach my parents that this is a partnership. They don't need to be afraid if they need help. So, I mean, this whole thing started because my parents were afraid to call 911. You know,
Really? Why were they afraid?
Because they don't know the Baker Act. You know, they're going to take my child. They're going to hurt him. And I've created such a great relationship with the autism community, with the Hialeah police, and they don't look at our Hialeah police as the enemy or the person who's going to be, you know, want to hurt our kids. It's a partnership. And, you know, from just when you call 911, you don't say, oh my God, I'm scared. My child is messing up the house and he's breaking and he's coming. No, you say, my child has autism. He's 6'4". He's 350 pounds. He may seem like, you know, I forgot to give him his medication and that's why he's behaving like this. He likes music. He will go after your weapon. He may seem aggressive, but it's because he's in crisis. You have to give information. And my parents and the police officers, you should see them in my training. They're actually role playing.
You're training with the police?
Yes.
Tell me about this.
So I did the first training for the Hialeah police officers in 2009 when we were located at 7400 West 24th Avenue on top of the E-Library and the police station. And that's when I started to create this relationship and talk to them about autism. And if you've met one child with autism, you've met one, because back then when they did the training, it wasn't our kids they did the training with. You know, my students are probably gonna will hit you and not hit you because you're holding them too tight or you're a stranger, right? Or if their parents have an accident, they may try to open the door. So those are the little things that I've been talking to the city of Hialeah, police officers and firefighters, because honestly, we call 911 at SFACs practically once a week. Because we're talking about Spectrum Alert, but we have a seizure in our school at least once a week.
I was there when one happened, and they were there like within minutes.
And they know.
Yes.
And right now I'm doing research with the University of Maryland just because we've seen a rise in how many of our kids are having seizures. And I'm working very closely with the firefighters in the city of Hialeah.
I didn't know about the seizures being more prevalent. Do you know?
So I believe, and this is what my research is, and I've spoken to Dr. Michael Alexander about this and Dr. Tushman, because they wrote a paper on this. I truly believe that there is a relationship between puberty and seizures, and we're seeing a rise in our students when they're going through puberty and having seizures, which is another podcast altogether. But because I call 911 so often, because I have so many kids in our school that we've had to call, I believe that it's so important that we do these trainings every year. And that's a big part of my walk. The walk that we do at SK
I was there.
here.
It was
we
great.
do a safety training because we have police officers, we have firefighters, we have fire rescues there. And we also host about 40 different police cars and fire
And
trucks
fire trucks.
at our school during April, always around the first part of April, that they're all puzzle pieces. And we do it with Miramar, Aventura, Homestead, Pembroke Pines, the sheriff department. Like, if you can think of a department, they've been at our school. And it's important that we are letting them know that we're here. And it's about relationships.
That's great. Now, talking about seizures, the seizure I saw, and this is so parents can put things in perspective. The boy was 17, and it was his first seizure in his life. So parents should know that these seizures, they at 17,
come at any time.
you think that, 17, never had a seizure, never will. But no, this boy was 17 years old, and he had a seizure. Now, I want to talk about the collaboration you're having with the police, because I had a conversation with a mayor and with the major from that police force. And I asked him about Spectrum Alert, and neither one had heard about that.
Yeah.
And they're local. So yes, some police forces like Hialeah, Doral, I know Coral Gables. I talked to Rosie Stutz, the sheriff of the sheriff's department. They know about it, but some of the small departments, they don't know about it. Now, you did do a press release.
Yes.
But I saw it like months afterwards.
Yes.
Because there's the internet's so noisy that things just get lost, in the shuffle. So
I think when I first came in, you mentioned that, and my mind works that way. So I really think that I'm going to send something to every police department in South Florida, a one-pager about the Spectrum Alert, and for them to know this is out there and to be on the lookout for when it gets implemented. It's super, super, super important that every person know about this, because it's going to save lives.
I also think now you're talking about that, like, you're collaborating with the Hialeah Police.
Yes.
I know Mari Palacios in Coral Gables. She's also collaborating with the Coral Gables Police. I think we should see more schools, local schools. Like in Opelika, you've got the South Florida School of Excellence.
Yes.
And they're right there in Opelika. They should be collaborating the same way you are, but I don't know that they are. And I think,
and that's a shame, because
it is a shame.
It's such a need, and I have created such a great relationship with our parents and our police officers that if they don't feel scared of the police officers anymore, they know Hialeah Police understand our population. They know Miramar Police understand our population. I've encouraged every single one of my parents to register their kids with the fire department, with the police officers. And on top of that, one of the things that I did with the city of Hialeah and the mayor is that the police officers in Hialeah did a grant, and they got the scent kit.
what is that?
It's a kit that
What's it called again?
it's called a scent kit. The
Scent,
next time
like
I
smell,
see you,
like
I'm going
scent.
to give you one.
Okay, yes.
It's a kit that you swab your child's mouth.
Okay.
And there's a way that you have to do it. You put it in your refrigerator, and if anything ever happens to your child, if they ever have an elopement, the dog
Oh, wow.
smell it.
That's amazing.
And they get to your child in no time. I don't know if anyone else has this, but at the time that I partnered with the city of Hialeah, they did it for us. And they got the grant to pay for this, and they were able to give one to every single one of my parents.
That's amazing. So these registration programs, is it the city of Hialeah or is it the sheriff's department?
So we have it where the city of Hialeah has it. I know Miramar has it. I believe Aventura has it. And I don't remember. I believe Broward Sheriff Department has it, because the more I do these training, it's almost as if the police officers are all taken from each other. North Miami is another police. They're great. They are absolutely fantastic in North Miami, and they have something too. They have a registry.
The scent kit, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
What is the cost per kit, just to put things in perspective?
I don't know, because they did a grant for that.
Okay.
But I will get the information. I will introduce you to the officers who came. And there was a press release on that too. There was a whole big press conference. And you're right, the noise sometimes
Yeah.
take away from all the greatness that's happening out there. But I would say our trainings, the more I talk about it to you, the more I see how different people are learning from what other folks are doing. But it's so important that our parents register their kids.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Sheriff Rosie Stutz, and they're going to do a Citizens Advisory Board on autism, and hopefully I'll be on that. I would love to present that scent kit.
Definitely.
Because that is
I will
huge.
definitely get you on. I will take your information before
Okay.
we leave, and I will get you on, promise.
That's great. Now, talking about like the scent kit, it can't be that expensive, especially compared to the life of a
And
child.
even if it's expensive, I am sure the different, just like how Hialeah got the grant to pay for it, I'm sure that, and I will co-write the grant with any person who would love for this and help in any way that I can. Because again, we have over 300 kids just in the Hialeah campus. We have the R.R. Moulton South campus, and after today, we're about to open the Country Club campus. And I'm hoping that we will be in Broward next year, because they're 1 in every 31, right?
You know what? I read the latest CDC report from 22, or 24. It's 1 in 22.
Oh, wow.
It's frightening.
Frightening.
And then they did a study in California, which has some of the best numbers. With boys, it's 1 in 12. So 1 in 12, that's almost 10%. It's like
That's almost
8 or 9%.
And then there's the card, right? Every parent who has a child with autism should be registered with
Yes.
the card center.
Yes. I thought you said card, because there's I met this one autistic gentleman. He's a little bit older. He's got what's called the blue card, because he gets pulled over by the police, and he can just present this blue card, and it does all the talking for him.
And then that's another thing that we've partnered with the Division for License, and we have all of our kids have an ID with a D on there.
A D, what's a D for?
The D is for disability.
Oh, disability. Okay. Yeah. And me on my car, I've got the autism decal for Occupant with Autism program from the Sheriff's Department. So it seems like
There's a lot of things out there.
There's a lot of things out there.
There's no one place.
I know.
And that's one of the things that, we're going to be launching our magazine come January. It's going to be called South Florida Autism Spectrum Spotlight, that we're going to be putting in everything that's out there, so the community is going to be free. It's a magazine that my adults, because I have a South Florida Autism Center, my adults are the ones that's creating this magazine. And they're going to be going around to different neurology office, doctor's office. They're going to be going into different mayor's office and just dropping off these magazines. And it's going to have any and everything that's out there. It's going to be information. I would love to get my students to interview you as well.
That'd be fun.
So that we could feature you in the May magazine issue. But again, it's really important that there's so much information and it's not in one place. I know CARD is trying to do that, but people don't register. And I think the minute you get diagnosed, I think all doctor's office should have the CARD information so that folks know that they register.
I was talking to an autism grandma who's running for city commissioner, and she'd never heard of CARD.
Oh, wow.
Which I was like, and she's like in her mid 60s. And for people who don't know, that's the Center for Autism Rare Disabilities at UM. And she didn't know about that. And it got me thinking that the problem in Dade County anyways, it's not resources, it's awareness.
It's awareness. And that's why we wanted to do this magazine, because someone said to me, I didn't know you existed.
Of course.
And we don't advertise like most people. And they said something like, you guys are the gem, the well-hidden gem. Well, I don't want to be the well-hidden gem anymore. Yeah. There's so much information out there. There's great resources, and we need to get it out to the community.
Yeah, because if you go to Google and you put, let's say, Miami Autism Services, you're just going to get page after page, and you don't know where to start.
You don't know.
And I think people it's such overwhelm, they just say, you know what, I just won't deal with it.
Yeah.
So we need like an easy way in. And your magazine might be a nice...
I believe it's because it's going to be written by children. Pictures are going to be taken by adults with autism. Everything about it is going to be about our community. And my students are going to be one doing it. So
That's so nice.
I think it's going to be great for the community.
I'm curious, your students is what age to what age?
So I'll tell you we have 4 entities. Okay. So we have South Florida Autism Charter School, kindergarten through 12th grade, and we get to keep our kids until they're 22. Mm-hmm. Then we have South Florida Autism Center, and within the center, we have a daycare that we're going to be starting in August of 2026, and we're going to be taking children as early as 6 months. We have South Florida Autism. We have the ADT program, which is my 22 and older.
What is ADT?
ADT is for our older kids. It's okay. It's a daycare for older kids.
Adult day training, is that?
Yeah. Okay. And it's like, but I don't look at it as a daycare. I look at it as these are adults that may not be able to go into Home Depot and work, but these are adults that's going to be able to. There's so much more they can do.
Yes, if given the training.
If given the training and the proper resources. And that's why we are now Volk Rehab certified. So now we're able to provide work for our kids. And I realize that the community may not be able to do it. And this is why we're creating the jobs for our adults. So in that program, we're going to have the pool. Obesity is also big for children with autism. So we're going to have a gym. Anything you can think of, we're going to have there. We have families who drive as far north as Deerfield Beach. So if they're pregnant or have a child that may not be on the spectrum, they can be a part of the daycare while their child goes to the school. And then after school, they can be in our aftercare program, and they could be swimming, they could be in the gym, they could be doing therapy because it will have therapy. So that will be in South Florida Autism Center. Recently, my board surprised me, and South Florida Autism Center took a new name. It's going to be Dr. Tamara Moodie Autism Center. So
congratulations, you've earned it. Thank you.
And we have Friends of South Florida Autism, which is our fundraising entity. This is where we do our gala. We just had our gala last weekend, and we raised over almost $400,000. That's going to be helping the center. And we have villages, and we are in the talks about doing residential for our part of the spectrum in Broward County.
And residential means?
Residential, it's going to be where our adults can live. I see it, the way I see it is that our kids are going to be able to be in our school, and then after school, they can then go to the residential. And then after the residential, they can be in our 22 and older program. And it's a well-oiled machine. And the way I see it, it's my one-stop. It's my one-stop shop. And it's everything that I've always wanted. And I feel it's going to help families, parents who may be older. In Hialeah, there's such a big group of adults that parents are getting older and passing away. And then what happens to these adults? What happens? For me, I preach to my parents, the first time your child sleep out of the home shouldn't be when you're no longer here.
No.
So the residential for me, it's to provide respite, and it's one night. Get them to go and spend one night.
It's a sleepover.
It's fun. And it's with the people. And for me, Florida is so difficult. It's so expensive to live in.
Dade County anyways.
Dade County, right? So the idea is the school, the center, the villages, and the friends. A teacher could be working in the school and decide that, you know what, I'm tired. And then could go work in the center. And then could say, you know what, I want to go work in the villages and work in the villages. I'm going to be cross-training my staff. We also, in the villages, will be having residential for our staff to be able to get good people to stay with us because they're going to get housing.
I don't want to go too far off
topic. We're not going to, yes. No, but there's so much to say.
Well, I want to ask you about the residential because Dade County is just too expensive. Yeah. Do you think that the solution for adult housing for autistic or disabled kids is in Dade County, or will they have to go further north where it's cheaper?
I think with the right people, and I know that Casa Familia is doing an amazing
job. But that's limited.
That's limited, but that's where we come in. We're going to do it as well. And I think just like we're a model for a lot of other folks for schools, I think Casa Familia as well as our villages is going to be the model for other folks. And that's why it needs to be affordable. we need to show that it's possible. It needs to be best practice. And I can't thank my board enough, because with the Spectrum Alert, with the idea of having a one-stop shop, they've always been supportive. Every one of my board members on my school board is a parent.
That's
of a
awesome.
child with
That's awesome.
autism.
Well, I'm curious about Casa Familia and also what you're doing, because I'm in real estate. So I think Casa Familia is just 3 stories.
I have not been there, but I've seen the model, and I believe that's what it is. And they're in phase 1 right now.
Right.
And then it's going to be phase 2, which is more going to be a different part of the spectrum.
Well, my question is, can you go high rise with this population, or can it not be high rise?
Again, autism, our kids are like snowflakes. There's no 2 dots alike. I think you're going to have a part of the spectrum that you can do high rise with. And then you have another part of the spectrum that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, just I think that with Yankee County, it's so expensive that if there's going to be a solution locally for a big cohort of these young people, it'll have to be high rise. I don't know how else you could do low rise. It's just, where would you put them?
The way I see it is, my kids going off to college has helped me to really look at the model more. Having that person who monitors the kids, just like if you were in college and you had the dormitory style, that's my idea.
Okay.
So it's more like what you're thinking.
Okay. And I also want to mention something about obesity. I saw a video. It was a young man with Down syndrome, but still, it's a disability. And he was super overweight. They got him a personal trainer, and that kid ended up with a 6-pack. So I think that some parents, they just think, well, autistic Down, they're going to be obese. No.
Listen, and like I wrote in my book when the last time you interviewed me, our kids, oh my God, they have feelings. They want experiences. They can hear, they can feel, they can love. And all of that is like, they know when people are staring at them. They know when people are talking. If I had a child with autism, he would smell the best. He would wear the Jordans. He would look the best. He would have the fresh haircut. Because that self-esteem, even if our kids are nonverbal, they know.
At some level.
They know. And we need to not be a part of the problem. We need to be a part of the solution. And would you want to be walking around with pants that's short, or dirty sneakers, or
probably not
smelling good?
Actually, no, I don't.
A shaved beard. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I think it's important that we're giving our kids, putting the best foot forward for them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I got the 2-minute warning a long time ago. So I got 5 last questions.
When I come here, it's like we're going
to talk.
Like we've talked about so many different topics.
Yes. So I have 5 last questions I want to ask you. Okay. First question is, one word or phrase that best describes Spectrum Alert.
Saving lives.
Saving lives. Yes.
Saving lives.
And it will.
And it will. I believe deep down that it will.
And it might not be this version, 1.0, but 2.0. But just the fact that we're starting, it will save lives.
Yeah. And it's about time that we're started.
South Florida, the number 1 cause of accidental death for autistic, non-autistic is drowning.
In my community, every person has a pool.
Or look at Anthony Brown. He drowned in a canal within 1 mile of his home. That's not far. And that's pretty common.
Yeah.
Second question. One misconception about autism safety that must disappear forever.
I think one thing that needs to disappear forever is that our kids can't learn about safety. I believe this is why I want to do a pool, right? To teach our kids, may not be an Olympic swimmer, but to save their own life. If you fall in, this is how you thread and you get to the side. And this is how you come out of the pool. Because our kids are always going to be curious. That's how you learn. You learn from curiosity. Our kids can learn. They can learn that I don't run out. Putting a lock on the door is putting a Band-Aid on there. But teaching them, if you want to go outside, this is how you act. You know, even if you're nonverbal, this is how you say it using sign language. This is how you say, I want to go outside. This is how you say, I want to go for a walk.
Well,
because there's a reason why our kids leave.
Yeah. Who knows what it is?
Find out what the function of that behavior is.
Well, you know, my daughter, she's 8 years old. She's nonverbal. She won't sign with you, but she can swim.
Yeah.
She can swim.
And all of her kids should learn how to swim. That's the first thing I did with my kids when they were born. is to teach them. But I want to be careful how I say that, because I don't want anyone to feel like if their child eloped is because they didn't teach them and they didn't teach them the right thing. But I want you to look at, all of our kids can be taught.
I had on Jim Connor from the drowning program at Dade County.
Yes.
And they don't use the word drowning proof, because you can't make somebody completely drown proof.
No.
So about teaching the kids what to do, you can do your best.
Yeah.
But you never know.
And one of the things that we do at our school is that we do a lot of modeling. We put our kids in a situation.
That's nice.
We have elopement training. We purposely walk away from a child to see what they're going to do.
And you train the parents.
And we train the parents. I do over 60 trainings a year.
And they're open to the public?
They're open to the public.
I know. I already knew the answer.
And you've been there. I was like, who is that guy?
Okay. Next question. The most important thing a parent should do before their child ever goes missing?
Register them.
Register them.
Register them. Find out and bring your child to the fire department. Bring your child to your closest police station. Let them know who your child is. I've had enough of my students who've eloped, not at the school, thank goodness for that, but with their parents, and the parents are calling me, Dr. Moodie, what do I do? I'm like, call 911.
And those scent kits, back to that, I think that's amazing.
That's amazing, right?
Amazing. Yeah, because those dogs, you ever see them work?
Oh, yeah.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
One of the things that I've implemented in our school is that all of our parents take pictures of their kids whenever they're leaving the house, whenever we're going on a field trip, because at that moment, you want to have the picture of what they have on at that moment.
Oh, and for the parents listening, you go to your local police station, you can get a decal for your car and for the front door of your home, which is huge. Because I've done police ride-alongs with, you go out in the streets and you realize this is a scary job, because every time you pull over a car, windows are tinted, what have you, you don't know what's in there.
And you want to go home to your family too.
Of course you do. So, if an officer sees the decal on the car or on the home, they're going to relax, because they already know what to expect. 6'4" boy who's 350 pounds. Maybe I'll call for backup.
I had a student a couple of years ago. He's like 6'4" and he was over 300 pounds. And they found him in Hialeah walking. And they didn't know who he belonged to. He had on our shirt. And it so happens that police officer did a training with me. So he knew our shirt. I was in Ocala because it was Thanksgiving. They called me and I told him, I said, put on some rap music. Don't touch him, but ask him to sit.
Yeah.
And it's luckily because if they touched him, he doesn't like to be touched.
Which is fair enough.
And if you're going to touch him, you have to tell him you're going to touch him.
Which they don't do that.
And they don't do that. And he's a big child. And you can't move him.
Not 6'4", 350 pounds.
Yeah.
And at 6'4", you call him a child, but for a stranger, that's a grown man.
Yeah.
That's a mountain of a man.
Yeah.
And pretty scary.
Yeah.
Because that's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
And for me, and that's why I say to my parents, wear your shirt everywhere you go.
That's a great idea.
Wear your shirt. You wear your hat.
Yeah.
Wear your shirt, so people know who you are.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Next question. The sentence you put on every police station wall in America.
Our kids are like snowflakes. There's no two that's alike. If you've seen one child with autism, you've seen one child or adult with autism.
Final question. Finish the sentence. Spectrum Alert will be a success when?
When it's in every state. When every first responder police officer is well trained on the spectrum. Again, there's no two that's alike. If you've seen one child with autism, you've seen one child with autism. When the parents are aware that this is out there, and I'm going to do something about this. I am going to do that one pager, and I'm going to send it out to every mayor's office
and the police station,
office and every police station. And I am going to work on that the minute I get back to the office.
Well, let me ask you a question. If a mayor, a commissioner, or a police chief is watching this, how do they get a hold of you? 305-823-2700 is the office number. And you can always go to www.sfod,
facs.org. Google Autism Charter and you will find me.
Excellent.
I take any phone calls. I will listen to a conversation. I will sit in, anything that's going to bring more awareness for our population is important to me, that the community know that we're here and we're not just a school, we're a community.
Excellent. Well, I super appreciate you being here. And I want to say this. When I launched the podcast, you were my second guest. My first guest was Dr. Michael Alessandri, a mutual friend.
I love him so.
He's a great guy.
He taught me a lot.
He's the GOAT. And I want to thank you because when this podcast first started, I was told you can do 3 shows. And they went so well that it became a permanent thing. This has been a therapy for me. Yeah. I think it's been a good thing for the community. And I want to thank you personally because if it wasn't for people like you, believing in me and coming on the show and making it what it is, we might not even be here right now talking about Spectrum Alert. So I thank you so much.
Well, thank you also for giving me a voice for the community to know that we're here. And we are, again, beyond just being a school. And I personally want to say Dr. Alessandri has taught me a lot. And
great guy. Great guy. Okay, let's turn to the camera. This has been the Autism Podcast at Miami's Community Newspapers with Dr. Tamara Moodie of the South Florida Autism Charter School. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.